Hello, my name's Andy and I'm a compulsive gambler. Last bet, 14th of April 2007. Hello guys, hope you're all well. Thank you for sharing all my 5 parts so far and watching them. Obviously they are helping because I've had quite a few people contact me through Twitter and through various other sources, and hopefully they're getting to meetings and doing really well. First thing I want to talk about really is the Panorama program that was been on in the following week about gambling, in particular fixed odds betting machines, which you find in the bookmakers. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy about all them at the minute. Here's where I stand really. Gambling, the bookies have got to make a profit. Companies got to make a profit. I'm dead against banning it for the one simple reason. It's not them that's got the problem. It's me. It's at the end of the day for a compulsive gambler to try and blame everything else but themselves. Not for me, that ain't. It was my fault when I did all my gambling, mainly online poker, but I did have a few goes on the fixed odds betting machines, but they were pretty much in infancy at the time. But I'm the one who had no control. Like I say, I weren't the one who was blaming everybody else at the end. It's my fault. My fault alone. We could talk about winning percentages all you like about and payouts and everything, but end of the day, I've only got myself to blame. I'm not blaming anything else. I'm not blaming the bookies or anything. I'm not blaming regulation or anything like that. It's in my own hands. I did all the blaming everybody else when I was gambling, blaming everything else but themselves. I was the one who's constantly lying. I was the one who's doing it. Not my fault. No, I mean, sorry, not my fault. Not their fault. It was my fault. And you gotta understand it. I can't all of a sudden just blame the bookies for my addiction. It was me. I've done it all. I've every sympathy with people who've took their own lives over it and things like that, and it is awful. It is an awful illness to have, but we've got no control. If it was me putting that money in now, I'll have no control again. It's my problem, my fault. The only thing I would make easier and probably be better regulated through the gambling industry is probably make yourself self-excluded much better from a bookmakers. It varies from company to company from what I hear. I don't do it myself. I've never had the intention of doing it, but I know it's a very big, important barrier for a lot of people to self-exclude themselves from bookmakers. But the rigmarole they have to go through, some companies every 6 months go in the bookies with your photo ID and fill in the forms. Some places every year, every 2 years, and so forth. And I don't blame the staff in there because they've got to ask the questions, but they're just trained staff at what they're not paid to understand what a person's gambling problem is or anything like that. They're not trained to do that. Why should they? Hopefully, I'd love to see it go on online and do it that way, and have some sort of national database. It would be hard to police, but if they throw it on the other foot and give the bookies a bit of a thing, they have a little bit of responsibility. If they don't notice someone who's gambling again and they've gone into a bookmakers when they are excluded, bit of a fine. And then keep repeating the fines and fines. Then they might be able to police themselves a lot better. But at the end of the day, it's us who's got the problem. We've got to deal with it 100%. Nobody else. We've got to do it. We've got to put the barriers in place to start. And I can't see banning fixed odds betting being the solution. People who have drug addiction, heroin addiction, stuff like that, that's all illegal. But anyone who's addicted to something, they'll find a way around to try and get it if they're really that desperate. So banning, I don't think it helps one bit. So that's where I stand. It's my fault. I've got to look after myself a day at a time through not gambling and stuff. another part for me for compulsive gambler, especially if you are really nervous, you feel like you've hit rock bottom and you need a meeting. Best thing you could ever do, apart from going to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting, is tell the truth to your family or your partner or whoever it may be. Come out clean. If you keep it a secret, you're leaving that back door open to having another bet. You might think, oh my gosh, my world will end here, and for some people it might be too much for people to be told, like your partner, and it might not be a happy ending. Luckily for me it was, but for some it won't be. But it'll be the best thing you ever do. Tell the truth. Tell them everything. It'll be the hardest conversation you ever have in your life. I remember my conversation. My wife was jaw just dropped and swinging when I told her about all the loans and credit cards I had and what I've done. But the even worse one for me was when I went to tell my mum and dad, and I turned the radio off on the car for the 10-15 minute drive there, and all I could hear was a death march in my ears. That was horrible. But I had to do it. It was tears. I think I'm welling up now, to be honest. Feeling a bit, oh dear. But it's the best thing I ever did. I had to say it. Obviously they were disappointed, naturally angry, but it was an important weight off my shoulders. Obviously I've got to bear in mind I've put weight onto their shoulders at that time, but I was at rock bottom. Managed to pick myself up. They picked me up again, and started trying to regain the trust out of everybody again, and that's where it is. You've got to rebuild that trust. That's probably the most important thing as a compulsive gambler. You've got to cut the lies. Be honest with yourself. Be honest to others. Don't patronise others. You probably go over the top and be trying to convince them too much that you're not doing it and stuff, but it takes time. It takes years to rebuild it all again, but it's worth it to tell people 100%. No lies. Give them the truth. Best thing. Yeah. Anyway, for the last couple of weeks I've been really good. No thoughts of gambling. Just completed a Great North Run again last week. It was brilliant. Superb atmosphere as always. Special shout out to my friend Colin, letting us stay for a couple of days up there in Newcastle. Like I say, the atmosphere is amazing. I love my running. Gonna get back on the Insanity DVDs now. It's a little personal addiction for me. I love them, even how crazy and how much of it hurts, but it's worth it in the end. I just wanted to tone up and feel a bit better about myself. Stuff like that really makes I feel a bit deflated, like always a week after doing a big challenge like that. You just feel a bit low and down because I've got nothing to target. And as a compulsive gambler as well, you don't pat yourself on the back enough, and that's one of the biggest things we don't do, if you know what I mean. We're always like probably a bit shy and a bit not sure why we do things. When we do things really good and well, we try and knock ourselves down a little bit. So mate, I'm still learning. I still wanting to try and make myself better, and that's where I am really. Thank you for listening. My name is Andy and I am a compulsive gambler.